Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I would like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of December 21st, 2022, and welcome everyone to the City Council chambers. The City Council meets all requirements of the State of Washington Open Public Meetings Act. Tonight is a hybrid meeting. Community members are welcome to join us either in person or remote via Zoom or telephone. For those who wish to participate in the future at a meeting on Zoom, you'll find the instructions to register for public comment on the City of Everett website under the City Council Department. Please note that we do not allow comments on any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office, and we do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Excused?
Councilmember Tui.
Here.
Councilmember Schwab.
Here.
Councilmember Fossey.
Here.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Vogely.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Excused?
President Stone Cipher.
Here. I'd like to ask Councilmember Zarlingo, will you please lead us in the flag salute? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Councilmember Fossey, would you please read the land acknowledgement?
The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Shtahobes people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. We're going to postpone the approval of the minutes of December 14th until a future meeting. There were some questions about some edits to that. And so we'll move on. Mayor Franklin is excused tonight. So Angie, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We do. We have one person via Zoom. So Paula, if you could please, there you go, got your camera on, and unmute yourself and state your full name and city of residence for the record. And you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Once you see the timer, you can go ahead. Just one moment.
Thank you. Oh, that moved my screen. I'll use my notes. Thank you. Paula Townsell, resident of Everett's District 3. I'd like to acknowledge that for months my comments and symbols were provided as an individual, a longtime resident and registered voter. However, this evening I am speaking as a representative of Everett Districts Now Ad Hoc Committee. It is our belief that the material information provided by the City Attorney in regards to the Redistricting Commission's adherence to the City Charter at the City Council meeting on October 19th was false. The City Attorney stated, "My role was to look at this from a distance and to make sure that we followed all of the legal requirements, that the process was as it should have been, and it was." City Charter 2.1c requires public forums in each then existing district and a public hearing by the Redistricting Commission prior to approving a redistricting map. The City Attorney was obligated to verify adherence to the Charter and to advise City Council accurately. The Charter had not been followed, and a council vote on approval of the redistricting plan was premature. Last week, Councilmember Schwab asked what it would take to go back and to do the redistricting process over again. The City Attorney simply stated the statute of limitations is 15 days and that's passed. That contradicts the legal advice on November 2nd when the City Attorney elaborated on the fact that the redistricting plan will not come into play until district council positions are up for re-election in 2025. In that meeting, he was suggesting there was no urgency in correcting any procedural problems in the process for the redistricting plan. Stated in his second point, that charter provision establishing that deadline doesn't include anything that would prevent further process if that were to be required. Residents are aware of the RCWs regarding appeal of the redistricting plan. However, as I and others have continuously affirmed, we want the procedural matter to be corrected by City Council. We do not want to force the city with litigation in Superior Court. A second opinion could provide Council a path forward to resolution on a successful redistricting plan. EDN Ad Hoc Committee respectfully suggests that City Council request review by outside legal counsel for a second opinion regarding a remedy to the procedural errors of the Redistricting Commission and City Council's premature approval vote. Following the city charter is too important for us to skip over. We appreciate Council's efforts to get redistricting done by the book. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And President Stonecipher, that's all we have for public comment.
President Stonecipher, could I just make one comment? That is that we've already gotten a second opinion from outside counsel on these matters. We got that before I gave my advice at the couple of meetings in question. So, and it was from one of the preeminent law firms in the Northwest.
Thank you. Thank you. We will move on to administrative update. Is there an administrative update this evening?
No update, except I want to take a moment to thank Ryan Sass and Bob Leonard, who are both here, for their work with their teams, certainly over the last few days. It's amazing the work that they do, and I think we just don't see it. It's out there, unspoken heroes, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Thank you. And Mr. Hall, do we have any legal matters that we need to address this evening?
There's no report from the legal department, and we are requesting a 5-minute executive session to discuss the litigation matter pursuant to RCW 4231.10(1)I with potential council action to follow.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for the 9 consent agenda items?
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. We'll move on to our proposed action items. Before I ask if there are any questions, I will read item 10. It's a first reading, so I'll read that into the record. Item 10 is Council Bill 2212-69, first reading. Adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Water Main Replacement Y, Fund 336, Program 035. The third and final reading will be on January 11th. Are there any questions on any of the proposed action items? Seeing none, we'll move on to our action agenda. Let me get down here. We are on item 11. Item 11 is Council Bill 2212-61, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled 40th Place Landslide Repair, Fund 303, Program 122, as established by ordinance number 3803-21. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Seconded.
A motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 12, Council Bill 2212-62, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled Port of Everett Combined Sewer Main, Fund 336, Program 025, as established by ordinance number 3851-21. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Sorry, yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 13, Council Bill 2212-63, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled Trickling Filter Media Replacement, Fund 336, Program 008, as established by ordinance number 3727-20. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 14, Council Bill 2212-64, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled Water Main Replacement V, Program 336, Program 004, as established by ordinance number 3720-19. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Seconded.
Do we have any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 15, Council Bill 2212-65, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled Forterra Restoration Plan, Fund 354, Program 068, as established by ordinance number 3787-20. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Second, which one are we on?
Item 15,
Thank you.
we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes, look for Scrivener's errors.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 16, Council Bill 2212-66, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Forterra Restoration Plan, Fund 354, Program 083, for the continued implementation of a restoration plan for several publicly owned urban forested areas within the city of Everett. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Councilmember
Just a brief
Zarlingo.
comment. This particular one includes several parks that my daughter and I had worked at over the years, Hannibrook Park, the South Everett Preserve, and Thornton Sullivan Park. And two things. One of them is I think it's neat that the city leverages a lot of volunteer effort and capability and local knowledge and priorities to help these forests get better, and they really are better. I've seen a lot of improvements there. But the other one is I'd encourage anybody in my hearing to go, even on cold, wet days. It's great to get out. It's great to be there. It's great to see the wildlife. And the volunteers that have been doing this more regularly than my daughter and I could are really stars, in my opinion. So great, great stuff to support. Wonderful use of a very small amount of public funds.
Yes, definitely. Any other questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 17, Council Bill 2212-67, salary ordinance, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance establishing the basic salary schedule for employees of the city of Everett for 2023, repealing ordinance 3846-21. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Vogely.
Alrighty. Are you ready? Some of this kind of sort of has to go in with the budget stuff that I didn't quite get questions given. So anyways, who reviews and updates the appointive compensation plan policies and procedures? Red light.
Thank you. Candy Bartlett, Human Resources. Good evening, Council. And please forgive me, I just got these right when I got here, so I'm going to do my best to answer them to my best ability. So the Compensation Committee reviews and updates the comp plan policies and procedures, and that's under Ordinance 2494-00. Updates are placed on the internet as they happen. To my knowledge, there's probably only been 2 edits to that plan since 2000 when they were put in place.
Okay. Great. Okay.
And just to add just a little bit to that, we're actually going through a review of them right now. So those should be completed, I'm guessing, by the first quarter, if not, but by the end of January.
The reason, and I didn't bring that, of course. Oh, you preempted. So yeah, I asked, when do they get published online? You just answered that question. Never mind. I was thinking of something else, not the compensation plan. Okay, thank you. Who reviews and revises the position reevaluation process?
Absolutely. So Human Resources does the work. So every single position that is non-represented has points that are factored. So it's a pretty complicated process. We look at the internal equity, so that's the point system. So we're looking at the complexity of the job, how many employees they supervise, the risk associated with each of those positions. There's 9 factors that we factor. That gives us our internal evaluation. We then look at the market to find out who and what is our competitors paying for that position. Biannual, we then run a regression analysis that actually establishes the pay range for those positions.
Okay. And that's for all
All
the,
non-represented positions.
Okay. So basically the appointeds.
Correct. There's 208 employees.
Okay. And then, does city council approve those changes? Do you know? It might be a legal question.
They do only through the annual ordinance, the salary ordinance, which is what is before you tonight.
Which has kind of been a question that I have. If the Civil Service Commission is responsible for classification of all employees except day laborers and appointed officers, then, and you just answered this, is the salary ordinance the means by which we, the council, receive those classifications?
That is correct, but again, remember that classifications are separate than the compensation, but you are seeing the classification titles within the salary ordinance and then the compensation that is associated with those classifications, which we are asking you to approve through the salary ordinance.
Okay. And just, okay, section 13 in the very back of the salary ordinance mentions circulation assistant 1/shelver in the library as day laborers. But in the library section, those positions do not exist, nor does the page, and by page, a page, not a page of a book. Where can we find those positions if not in the salary ordinance?
It's actually in the AFSCME collective bargaining agreement, which you will also be approving later today. So the reason why they're not in the salary ordinance is they are funded separately. They're part-time positions, and they once were called library pages. When we did the reorg of the library, those were then changed. The title was then changed from library page to the circulation assistant 1/shelvers. You'll actually see a full article in the AFSCME labor agreement. The reason why that is because the way that in the budget, there's a separate money. It's not allocated per FTE like you see for other positions. So the library is provided a sum of money, and however they choose to, they could have 16, I was going to call them pages again, but library assistant ones, or they could have depending on the budget that you guys approve for them through the budget process, they then indicate how many they need. And the reason for that is some only work a few hours, some may work up to 18 hours, but it's a part-time position, and that's why it is not part of the actual salary ordinance. So that's the best answer I can give you on that one. We may need Susie to explain that further of how that budget is done separately for them.
Can I ask one question about, is that because the library is sort of a separate?
They have their own
They have their
board.
own budgeting authority and board, their governance structure is different. We don't control them.
Right.
We just give them their money and then they can do whatever they want to with it.
And similar to our day laborers, it is allocated in a lump sum, as Candy was describing, of which the library then can decide they want to hire 10 at 5 hours a week, or they want to hire 5 at 10 hours a week, et cetera. It's
Okay.
just a lump sum of dollars.
I'm asking because I know they don't have like enough or any page shelvers at the moment, and
They actually do.
okay, well, their staffing, like every other department, is incredibly low, and it's very, as I've heard, difficult to get through the day. And so I'm just putting that out there, so I don't know. Those are the questions that I have for you. Thank you for answering them, and sorry I got you the questions so late.
No, you're very welcome. Is there any other questions I can have?
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
We're
Make it-
voting on item
Oh,
17.
well, my colleague here was asking a question. I'm voting yes for the ordinance, if that's okay.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 18, Council Bill 2212-68, appointive ordinance, third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance relating officers and officials fringe benefits, amending EMC 2.74.020 and adding a new section to Chapter 2.74 EMC. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes,
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Item 19, authorize the mayor to sign the collective bargaining agreement between the city and the Everett Municipal Employees Local Number 113, AFSCME, for years 2023 through 2024. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on item 19? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
yes,
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes, we are moving on to council comments and liaison reports. So we're starting with Vice President Tui.
Well, thank you, and I too want to thank Ryan and all the rest of the city staff that's gotten out there and worked on our roads. It hasn't been easy, and so there's still a lot of ice, and so I hope everybody just stays safe and has a great holiday. But thanks for all your long hours of city staff.
Thank you. Councilmember Schwab.
no report, thank you.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yeah, we received a notice that today through Saturday, the transit is offering, allowing free bus rides, and that is for transport to or from the cold weather shelters and warming shelters. And for anyone going there, they were instructed just to let the coach operator know when they board. And then similar thanks to Ryan Sass's and Bob Leonard's team. It's cold out there, and that's hard work. And I hope everybody is realizing there's still a lot of people that have to work in these conditions, and they make those conditions a lot easier for the rest of us and make it a lot safer. So give everybody a little bit of grace and a little bit of kindness this season, and happy holidays and a new year.
Thank you. Councilmember Zarlingo.
Well, brief note, actually, also with respect to transit, I'm still working on the committee that's part of the Puget Sound Regional Council's Transportation Policy Board, figuring out how best to allocate the upcoming increase in funding from the Federal Transit Administration, and cutting through a lot of the clutter and complexity of that. I just want to say it looks like there are more dollars coming to our region. I want to acknowledge especially Tom Hingson, Transit Director, and Melinda Adams for their working with me on getting a better chunk of our share of that, especially to handle our minority and low-income communities going forward. Everett Transit's kind of a small player in all this compared to King County Metro and Sound Transit and the rest, and so they've really helped me in my duties on this, try to get an increased share that way to do more with what we've got. So thanks to the team, to administration.
Thank you. And Councilmember Vogely.
Good evening, everybody. It is indeed the fourth night of Hanukkah, so if you celebrate, enjoy your candles. It's also winter solstice, and it's the shortest day of the year, so this probably won't be the shortest council meeting, but we're gonna not be as long as the past 2 weeks. I was reading an article, and apparently we have a new city spokesperson, and so I know there's not a whole lot of people here, but it'd be cool to know about those things in advance, unless it was just a miss. It's just neat. We have one, and I didn't know we did, so I think it's Simone Tarver.
Yeah.
Is that who is that?
Julio Cortez has been acting in that capacity, and Simone has begun to back him up and will be our lead PIO starting in January through session for Julio.
Thanks. And you said it so fast, David. Could you please tell me or us again who was the outside legal counsel for districts?
It was Thomas Ahern at Foster Pepper Shuffleman.
That's still really fast. Slow down. Tom Abernathy?
Ahern, A-H-E-R-N,
Ahern. And then there was more.
the law firm of Foster Pepper.
Foster Pepper. Okay. Thank you. And a bit of holiday cheer. Not really, it's going to get really sad. From 2010 to 2021, the average wage in the city of Everett went up 82%. That's something to cheer about. Right on. Oh, and just BT dubs. I got this information because I get to speak every other week with Chris Collier from the Alliance for Housing Affordability. So I had that conversation with him this week. So 82%, the wages in the city of Everett went up. But you know how much a sale price of a home went up? 120%. And rent price in that same time period, 150%. So where we in Everett are doing great in that we've gone, I think Linwood, their average wage went up, and this isn't a quote because I didn't write it down, but like 20%. It was really not as much as Everett. So we've gone up, but house prices and rent prices are still much higher. So if you want to live in Everett because you work here, and it's awesome to do that, it's getting harder and harder. So keep that in mind, especially when you see all those folks outside. And it is cold as ice. It's actually colder. So be careful out there, and hopefully you can stay warm. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. And I just had a couple of comments. I wanted to give council members and our public an update on the metal detectors. We will be implementing the use of a metal detector with security staff support early in the new year. And that will be as you enter the building here where our council chambers exist. And I will have more information about that soon, but I just wanted to put that out so everyone knows that's coming. Our council president and vice president nominations will be conducted per our procedures on our January 4th council meeting. And so we'll be taking nominations at that time and voting for the next council president and vice president. And at this point, we are going to, I wanted to wish all of our community a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa and whatever else you celebrate or don't. I hope you have some time with your family and enjoy the holiday season. We're now going to go into executive session. We're going to take a 2-minute break so that everyone can get over there. And then when we get into executive session, it will last 5 minutes. And then there is a potential council action to follow, but we will reconvene here and adjourn from here. So you have 2 minutes to get into the room. Are we ready? Okay. City Council is now back in session. We're back from our executive session, and I will hand it over to City Attorney, Mr. Hall.
We're asking for council's approval for the legal department to make an offer of judgment in the Metcalf versus Everett case. That's a case involving sexual harassment claims against our fire department. This is a procedural maneuver allowed by the civil rules. I explain executive session. I'll explain it briefly here. If it's accepted within 10 days, that's the end of the case. We pay that amount. We're asking for $24,000. If it's not accepted and it goes to trial and the judgment is less than $24,000, then the other side is not entitled to their attorney's fees, and we are.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Do you have any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Zerlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes, and with no further business, we are now adjourned.